What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Way Podcast. I'm joined by my co-host, my partner in crime, Sugar Ray. How you doing, man?
I'm doing all right, thank you, man. Just, love boxing to take in this month, so starting the journey. So here we go. How about yourself?
I'm good, man. All good. Like we were talking off air, Ramadan's just started. So this is the first thing. Woke up, first thing straight into the pod. So,
Yeah, Ramadan Kareem to all going into Ramadan this month.
yeah, man, bro. But yeah, like you said, April. It might be one of the most stacked boxing months that we've had in a long time, where there's actual genuine quality all across the board.
Oh, for sure.
And we started off yesterday with Savannah Marshall in Newcastle defending a WBO middleweight title against Hermans. Third round knockout. Pretty impressive display considering in the first round when I was watching it, she wasn't catching her timings.
Yeah.
But towards as the fight carried on, you could tell that, okay, the power is coming through. And she caught a very clean shot with literally a second to go in the third round that knocked out her opponent. So I was just going to say to you, are you impressed with the fact that she went into her hometown and there was that little bit of pressure upon her performance and she came through and managed to do that?
I think what she's shown before, that she lives up to the moment so far. So I think that was a very good performance from her. Obviously, it took her a while to get her timing right, but when she did, she applied the pressure, and then we saw what happened. It's like with a second left, she just dropped her, and Hermans couldn't get up from it. So shout out to Marshall. I think this has been one of the smoother roads to Undisputed I've seen in a while, so I'm happy about that. Obviously, straight after is like Claressa Shields was there. Apparently, she said on Twitter, if you was for those that in attendance saw that, apparently they weren't trying to have her in a ring, but thankfully they allowed that to happen, because I get sometimes it's kind of like the British public don't like the whole thing of drawing at each other sometimes, but you need to get some needle from somewhere. It's weird though, because some people be like, oh, I don't want that fake stuff. I'm like, it's not fake. Fake might be like if you start, throwing fist or just pushing each other for no reason and everything, but intensity is intensity, and you can sell intensity, and you can tell that those two have a deep-heated rivalry, with Claressa Shields, believing that she is the best, and that, people lauding that loss in amateurs over her is stupid, considering the accomplishments that she had. And obviously, Savannah Marshall has been saying that she's the best hitter in the division, so I'm looking forward to it.
I think something you touched on was actually the in-ring between them both. You can see there the shot from yesterday, how they both got in, and Claressa Shields is right in her face as well. So I guess now, like you said, the road to Undisputed has been probably one of the smoothest things. It's a case of we needed certain things to go our way to get this fight.
Yeah.
Now it's down to Ben Shalom, surely. Like, there's been this talk. You see it from both fighters, where we've talked previously about certain fighters where they want it, but they don't really want it.
Yeah.
It seems like this is the only logical fight that can actually occur for both guys. And Ben was talking about the fact that it's going to be late July, early June. Does that seem like a time frame for you where both fighters can reasonably get into shape and get ready for the particular fight?
Yeah, I think that's good, because obviously it's like Savannah's just fought. She's had training camp. She needs time to I guess, kick back, rest up the body as well. Just enjoy that before going into that. And let's say you take a month off, then we're in May. So May, June, and then if it is in July, you got 2 to 3 months to then do a camp for that fight. So yeah, I think that's perfect timing, and I think it also gives Claressa Shields enough time as well to get into camp. It gives both enough time to just promote the fight as well, because what I liked about Claressa Shields, when people are asking, oh, why is she there and is she going to go into the ring, and she was just like, of course, like, I've got a fight to promote. It's kind of a weird one seeing when people are just like, they don't like when other fighters get into the ring and everything, but then if the fight doesn't get promoted, you got the same people in the public are going to be upset saying, oh, why wasn't it promoted, this, that, and the third. But people complain that they don't like some of the hustle and bustle that comes with the promotion, but it gets your attention.
Exactly.
So,
I mean, I don't want to speak too much on it, but we've got a heavyweight fight coming at the end of April that nobody's talking about and nobody's talking too much about, with an undercard with one fight.
Oh,
But on the actual fight itself,
Yeah.
Who needs this? I guess it's a bit of a silly question, but at the same time, who comes into the fight wanting to win this a bit more? Do you think it's Claressa Shields, because obviously she's got that monkey on her back to get rid of, where everyone's looking at Savannah Marshall as the big puncher? You've lost to her in the amateurs, regardless of what's happened where your career's gone now.
Yeah.
That particular thing, or do you think it's Savannah Marshall to say, look, we all kind of have an idea where the fight's going to happen. It's going to happen in the UK. So does she have the idea to say, I need to put on this performance just to, I guess, shut this person up as well?
I think it's two different angles. For Savannah, it's more she wants to shut up Claressa Shields because she feels like, you know, like I said before, UK is more reserved when it comes to accomplishments, or they prefer their stars to be more reserved. So, you know, they don't like it when it's lauded over them and everything. But then you got Claressa Shields, who's just determined to say that she's the GOAT. And, you know, kudos to her. When you've done the accomplishments that she's done, you've earned the right to say it. That's why I don't like when people disregard saying it, because I'm just like, it's not easy to do what she done.
Just
so if she then wants to bring it up, who's anyone to tell her not to? Sorry, you were saying.
Side note, I love the nickname. Cool.
Yeah,
I love it. I think it puts a little difference. Like everyone says, go, but she adds the warmth. I just think it's just that little tweak on something.
Yeah. You need that, but I think people underestimate a good. I don't even know if I'll call her a villain. I might call her an anti-hero. They underestimate, because sometimes people might be like, "Oh, I hate when she does that and this, that, and the first. She speaks too much. This, that, and third." She's got your attention.
Yeah, she
has your attention, and she's accomplished. It's not a case of someone's just talking for talking's sake. No, she's got your attention, and she backs it up as well. And to be fair, listen, I'm leaning towards her to win. This is giving me the feeling of a Mayweather versus Hatton, where you had Hatton, who was a big puncher. It was, I believe, was it welterweight or light welterweight where they had their contest. So you got Hatton, who's this big puncher, and then you had Mayweather, who was the slickster. And I feel like that's what it is with Claressa Shields. With that, although people might mock her and say, "Oh, you've barely got any knockouts," you can't deny that all the other departments of boxing, she's solid in them.
Yeah.
Whereas Savannah is like, I guess, maybe her own fault because she keeps on knocking out other people. You haven't shown that much range in your boxing. But listen, you don't get paid overtime for boxing, so you can knock someone out, knock them out, and get your win. So it'll be like an interesting contrast. They're going to build heavy on, obviously, there's the US, the UK, the power against the slickster, the disputed fight all them years ago as amateurs. And I think just the contrast in personalities is going to make it a good promotion. So I'm looking forward to it for sure.
Before we talk on other fights that were actually announced, is it fair that this fight kind of just been pushed to only be in the UK? Like, there's literally, it seems like, even though Shields had more to lose, it feels like Savannah seems to be the A side. Ben seems to be kind of pushing her as the A side. Is it fair that there's no possibility that this could happen in America?
I think it's more annoyingly, let's be honest, I get what Ben Shalom's doing. UK girl, so you push it. She's not the A side. Let's not do that.
Exactly. If you were just looking at it from eyeball lens, it would seem like it, because I've not heard, even when Claressa Shields mentioned it, why do we have to do it in Newcastle or to Wembley? I'm still thinking, wait a minute, why not bring you out? Why not bring your places out to fight in America? So it feels like even she's not giving herself that credibility, like, let me try to push it to go America. But I feel like if that occurs, this time we have in June, July, that doesn't happen, because now we're fighting over venues.
I think she also understands at the moment, the women's boxing in the US isn't as great as, I guess, the support it's getting in the UK at the moment. So even if women's boxing has still got strides to make in comparison to, to give an example, like with the UFC, how they integrated women's MMA into the UFC product. It was good, because instead of doing the whole, they didn't make as big an emphasis on is women's MMA. It was more of, it's still MMA, and women, and they just happen to be women. Do you get what I'm saying?
Exactly. Yeah.
So I feel like they're doing that more in the UK now, where it's more like, yes, you want to push the importance of it being women's boxing, but it's also a big thing of it's still boxing, regardless, it's still boxing. So I feel like in the States, they don't have that as much yet. Obviously, what they're doing with the zone with Serrano Taylor at the end of this month, that's pushing it forward in the States. But I think here, yeah, they've just started to accept it more as boxing of two people that happen to be women, rather than, you know, seeing it as some
its own separate entity thing.
Yeah. And I feel like that's why Claressa Shields has come to the UK as well, because she's realized that, okay, listen, they're not showing me love in the US. And sometimes that happens. Some people have to leave their, you know, their home country to get the love that they need. And I think with Claressa, she's so polarizing that there are a lot of UK fans that do actually like her. And there's also a lot of UK fans that are not fans of her, but in a good way. They're not fans of her in a way of they'll pay attention to see her lose. And that is better than people just not caring. And I think she understands that. So she is fully going gang-ho with the whole quote thing, and, you know, coming onto, like she's saying when Claressa won her last fight, she got in Savannah's face and said, what do you mean? Like, I made this fight because I came to your country. Well, obviously England, well, Great Britain. But yeah, she was just like, I came to your country and I put the flag down so that we can have this fight. You didn't make this fight. So no matter what Ben Shalom tries to do, Claressa is the A side. Because if Claressa wasn't as big as personality as she was, would we care as much about Savannah Marshall's unifying? That's the truth.
That's true. You're right on that side. But with that, we are now going to move on to something else. Okay. And keeping on the topic of Undisputed, and we've got a big fight that was announced during the week. We've got Devin Haney and George Kambosos Jr. for the lightweight titles. Everything is on the line. It's happening in Australia.
Yeah.
Now, before we talk about the fight, there is one thing I am going to say about it. I don't think this fight would have happened if Lomachenko was available.
Oh, for absolute fact.
I think we can all see where it was going. We were always going to get Lomachenko, but since he wasn't available, we have the fight that I think a lot of boxing fans kind of want, because we get all the titles. Like, everything settled. Are you
get
excited?
rid of that nonsense franchise BS?
Exactly. Are you excited about this fight?
For sure. I'm upset that Devin Haney had to sign that death row contract with Top Rank, but you know, sometimes you have to take that L to propel yourself forward, and hopefully this will be the last time he'll have to do this. But I'm just happy that Haney proved a lot of people wrong, because for a long time a lot of people are just like, oh, Haney doesn't really want these fights. He says it, but he doesn't really want it. I'm like, I've seen this guy, like they say in America, he has the dog in him. I've seen it. So I knew he really wanted this fight. And, you know, maybe we'll leave it for another episode when we come into the politics of, let's be honest, a lot of these big American promoters wanted to freeze out Eddie Hearn. That's why a lot of these fights wasn't happening for Haney, because whether it's Top Rank, whether it's Lou DiBella, whether it's, you know, other American promotions, they've seen what Eddie Hearn's done in terms of trying to revolutionize boxing, and they've tried to freeze him out. So obviously Devin Haney has had to go down this route, and credit to Eddie Hearn as well, because I think Eddie Hearn was just like, listen, you do what you need to do, and then if you're happy with them, stay with them. But, you know, I'm sure that Devin Haney's been saying that Matchroom has treated him well in terms of payment, so I'm sure that he's going to go into there thinking, you know, he'll go back to Matchroom and DAZN, so we'll see what happens.
But we will obviously talk about the fight when it gets closer to, I believe, the dates in June. There is one thing now I want to talk about, and is 2022 the year of Undisputed Boxing. We've already seen it with Cattrall and Taylor. We're going to get it in June with the women and the men here.
Yeah.
There's a possibility we could get Crawford and Spence. We've got Serrano and Taylor. Outside of the heavyweight division, which just seems like it's always constantly going to be a mess due to are boxing fans getting what they've been craving for? And also, is this going to help casuals now that we can get clear, decisive champions of their divisions?
I think, yeah, it definitely goes back to the point I made of like other promoters being around. So competition, I think the reason why we're getting this now is because there's been other competitors in terms of promoters that are now available to make sure that these fights get made, or it forces other promoters' hands. I think for a long time we went through a stretch of promoters were just like, no, this isn't going to happen because this is the A side and this, that, and the third, and they didn't have no competition to push their hand, to force their hand to make fights happen. Now that fights are happening, I think a lot of casuals per se, that everyone wants to complain about. Oh, look what boxing's become on YouTube boxing. This is the month. This is the month where you guys get to put your money where your mouth is. If you really enjoy boxing, if you really like genuine good competition, listen. From getting Haney versus Kambosos coming up to Serrano fight at the end of the month to
Canelo early May.
Canelo early May, like so many announcements have been made recently. Even like we're getting Shakur versus Valdez, which is a unification fight. So
I even forgot
man,
about that.
yeah, and even like there's talks of Terence Crawford potentially signing with PBC, and we can finally get that fight between him and Spence. Because even looking at a lot of Spence interviews, Spence has said himself, like, listen, I don't know how many times you want me to say this. I want this fight to happen. So I think if Crawford signs with PBC, it can happen. But obviously, it's just a matter of that whole A side argument, and it's going to be annoying because it's going to be like the Haney situation where Crawford will have to accept that Spence is the A side. But I guess it just depends in terms of negotiation. If they don't take the piss with Spence being A side,
Yeah,
I
exactly.
think that would be the most important thing. But this year is very close. If it doesn't happen either late this year or early next year, I'm not going to care no more. And let me not say I'm not going to care no more.
You'll care, but we know.
I'll care, but we'll truly know that the time has passed.
Yeah.
Whereas, although enough time has passed now, I feel like right now is the best year for it. End of this year, early next year, because credit to Spence, no matter how many long layoffs he takes from serious injuries, and you know, he had a life-threatening situation with a crash. This guy will come back and will not take up that minor fights. This guy is facing the best after a long layoff, and seeing a lot of the promo on him, he's looking in solid shape. So yeah, it'll be the year of the Undisputed. So all those casual fans that like to complain about boxing is this, that is WWE, and you don't like the antics, this is the year to put your money where your mouth is. Watch these fights, bring in those numbers, and yeah, then boxing will continue to do great things. So I'm looking forward to a lot of good fight announcements. So yeah.
On the month of April, very quick, just literally next week got Triple G fighting. Okay, Ryan Garcia is going to be back. So there's slowly a bit of things happening. Boxer series is back as well. There's two big.
Yeah.
But yeah, I genuinely think we're at a point right now where outside, I'm going to say this, outside of the heavyweight division and politics there, every other division seems to be okay in terms of alignment, where there's fights that genuinely have interest or potential interest, and they could actually happen. I don't know if you've got a similar wave on that as well.
Yeah, I think just like seeing fights being made that people have been clamoring for, or just seeing more promoters kind of work with each other, or just seeing more fighters take the power into their hands. A lot of the time, it is their promoters holding them back. Well, we've seen that especially like with the lightweight division, which has been the most interesting, with Haney going to Top Rank to face Kambosos, 3-fight deal. Obviously, there's a rematch clause if George loses, and then I think they're potentially looking at George versus Loma after that, or the winner first Loma. So it'll be interesting to see in terms of I think maybe we'll see what happens.
With that, we are going to wrap up today's video. It's been a nice fun one. We've been able to talk about some fights, possibilities, and stuff. As always, if you are enjoying the content, you know exactly what we would love for you guys to do. Like, share, subscribe on the YouTube page. Follow us on all the socials, _the_weigh_in_ on the Instagram. The Twitter handle is also the _the_weigh_in_. As always, Ray, I'm going to give you the final words. Give the guys your final words of this weekend.
People, put your money where your mouth is and watch the fights if you want quality fights.
And with that, we are going to wrap up the episode of the Way Podcast. Appreciate always Ray for coming on. Peace and love, guys. And if you are, like I say, enjoy the content, follow all the socials, and get involved with the comments as well. But as always, peace and love, guys.